So if you can practice mindfulness, if you can practice self-awareness, and stay out of the trap of blaming, not just blaming other people, but blaming everything, blaming the world for your problems, blaming society for your problems, blaming politics, blaming other people, blaming your partner. That will just get you so stuck. It will get you nowhere. It will not get you ahead ever, ever. And so acknowledging, taking full responsibility for your own consciousness, for your own stuff, both what you're conscious of and what you're unconscious of. Remembering that none of us are aware of 95 or 97% at least of what's in our consciousness. Just like we're only aware of a certain small band of electromagnetic radiation that we perceive as light, and we don't see all the rest: X-rays, gamma rays, infrared, ultraviolet, and everything in between. We are not aware of most of what's happening around us energetically, as vibration, as phenomena in the universe. We are aware of this much. The same is true for your own consciousness. And we think we know ourselves, we think we know what's going on inside of us, but we're really only aware of a small amount. So don't beat yourself up for not knowing everything, but acknowledge that whatever it is that's getting replayed over and over, whatever patterns are showing up in your life, it's coming through you, from something within you. It doesn't mean that God hates you. It doesn't mean that you have bad karma and you're being punished for something you did in your last life. But it does mean that whatever stuff you've collected in you, whatever experiences you've collected, even the ones you forgot about, all the way back to birth, and if you are open to the idea of past lives or other lives, maybe you're also bringing that stuff. And you're also bringing with you the influences of your ancestors, intergenerational trauma or ancestral trauma. It's in our system. It's not your fault, but it's there. You have to acknowledge all of that stuff because it's all having an effect. And if you instead focus out there at everything else and see that as the problem that's somehow against you, then you're not even at step one of transforming anything in your life, because you're always going to be stuck in that duality of victimhood and feeling attacked. Okay, this is kind of the spiritual trip. I mean, this is kind of the truth of where we get stuck, is we forget. We forget that we're connected to everything, and we forget our own power, and we forget that our consciousness is actually projected outward onto our life. So we feel like we have no ability to change anything, like it's too big, it's all against us. You know, how can anything change? Well, it can change by you coming back to you, working on yourself with compassion for yourself, without judging yourself, and not trying to be perfect, and recognize that your truest self, your deepest self, doesn't need fixing. That self is connected to the entirety of the universe. It is non-different. It is one with all that is, okay? That's not the self that you need to fix. That's not the self that is a problem. That's not the self that is wounded or traumatized or anything else, okay? That's the truth of your being. But down here in this dimension, in this body, there is something that needs to be addressed. And that is the pain that you carry. And that is what creates the illusion of separation. And that is what creates all of the problems you encounter, and all of the fear, and feeling small, and feeling ashamed, and feeling unloved, and feeling disconnected, and all the stuff that human beings struggle with, okay? So be kind to yourself, practice self-awareness, acknowledge yourself, both what's conscious and unconscious, take full responsibility for the reality that you've landed in, and take steps to find your way to the deepest place in yourself, to work on it at a consciousness level. Okay, not trying to fix the superficial problems all the time, but also looking to the deepest place, the real origin of it, which is within. It's on a consciousness level.